Wow, here we are again, folks. This is Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. So proud to be with you today. And we're going to look at the poetical book of Proverbs today. And we're going to do the thing that is called maximizing it. And I'm following a lesson that I'm in a school called Titus Baptist Seminary. And this is one of the lessons I learned from Brother Dennis Farr. Our texts were taken from Wilmington's Guide to the Bible, which I recommend to anybody who turns on to PH Tidbits would find Wilmington's Guide to the Bible. It is very, very good. It's a classical book on the Bible. It is one of the best. And then we also use Matthew Henry's commentary, which I like very well too, on the whole Bible, and the pulpit committee has done a study with it. So the fact is that certain books and textbooks and references that we're going to use in our school, we might not agree 100% with every single thing that's said. And it stands to reason when, like for instance in Wilmington's, as good as it is, he has some quotes from some other people who are not necessarily Christian quotes. There are things, Confucius said many things, but he wasn't a Christian. And so you can quote something, Confucius said this or that about it, and not deduct a spiritual answer out of it. So this is a collection of moral and religious maxims, is what it's a collection of. The instruction concerning for right living. If we'll take it, there are 25 serious things right here, 25, 6, 7, 8, 9, 30, 33, 35, 36 exact things that are commands in the book of Proverbs for living a proper life. And we need to follow those and adhere to those. Now the word maximum means literally the greatest. Look it up in the 1628, the dictionary, and you'll find out this is what it means. And it establishes the principles and the positions that a man needs to take and to generally receive the Word of God out of God's book, the Bible. And God put all these men together for a reason. He put all of the Bible expositors, all those that wrote the Bible, He put them all together for a reason. And the reason was that you and I could have this wonderful, wondrous book. A book that nobody, and no other writings anywhere in the world other than the Bible can say that they are spiritually inspired by the Holy Spirit. Now the very Holy Spirit that inspired this book's the one that authored it. He authored it over a period of some 1,600 years by 40 different authors on a couple of continents and a couple of languages. And he put books together that are books that one man never saw the other, never met the other, never knew what the other man did, yet his book follows right in suit with the other man's book. Wow. That's something. Had to be God, didn't it? Had to be God. And established the principles of the way it was put together. And now it is the most popularly used book on earth. The most popularly used book on earth. I might say that all of the those that are paraphrases, if you please, are not the King James Version. If you're going to live this Christian life, you need to get a King James Version and live by it. If you take a paraphrase and change the word, one word or two words in a sentence, you change the whole sentence. And it's very easy. An English teacher could tell you how to change a sentence from one word, just in a fraction, just like that. Now, a proverb is a short sentence drawn from a long experience. I like that. A short sentence drawn from a long experience. And the teaching by Proverbs was one of the ancient ways of teaching. And they taught that way all the time. Solomon, we're told in 1 Kings 4:32, that he wrote 3,000 proverbs and composed over 1,000 songs. However, chapters 1 through 24 contain only a fraction, just a fraction of the number. So we don't have all that Solomon wrote. We have a very, very, you want to know the truth, we've got a very small amount of what Solomon wrote. And but it's good to teach. Proverbs, teaching short sentences, it's good in Sunday school classes, it's good in other things. Now remember, the ancient teaching of the Greeks were taught one way. And then the teaching of the Jews was taught another way. Yet they were taught the same thing, but taught in a different plan. You want to make things easy and simple? Teach them Proverbs. Just teach them Proverbs. They're easy to learn. They're easy to commit to memory. They're profitable. A very profitable way of teaching. If you're a Sunday school teacher, get in the book of Proverbs and learn them, and you can draw them out. You can always find something to say out of a proverb for everything that is said. There are several authors of the book of Proverbs. Solomon was one of them. 1 through 24. We're told in 1 Kings 4 and 32 that he wrote those 3,000. And then 1 Kings 4 and 32, it spake of 3,000 more proverbs and songs, and 5 that Solomon prayed for wisdom. There was 5 Solomon had prayed for wisdom, and his prayer was recorded. In 1 Kings 3 and 12, behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and understanding heart. Who gave Solomon what he had? God gave it to him. A wise and understanding heart. There's something that I have a hard time with here, is that even though God gave him that, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after shall there be any arise like thee. The problem with him is that his understanding heart was not so much spiritual as it was physical. Yes, he was wise. He could answer any conundrum, any riddle, anything that came against him, he could answer it. But could he live himself the proper way? No, he couldn't. Because God was not first in his life all the way through his life. He married women, they had strange gods, and they carried him captive to their gods and to their way. God granted his prayer. Too bad he turned away from the wisdom and gave others. Matthew Henry gives a quote in his book. But let those who are most eminently useful take warning by this, not to be proud or secure. Let us all learn not to think the worse of good instruction, though he had them from those who do not themselves altogether live up to them. God's had people in positions that didn't live up to their position. But God honored the man to a certain point. My thinking of that matter is my study of the New Testament is that we can lose rewards that we've had. We could gain 10 rewards, and we could lose 10 rewards and get to heaven so as by fire. If we act a fool at the end of our life and walk away from God, get away from him, our soul is saved because it was secured by God, and if it's secured by God and saved by God, then it's going to die saved. But we can sure look like we aren't saved. One of those men in the Bible was Hezekiah, 25-29, Agar, 30, Lemuel, 31. And the book tells a story. It is in a picture of a young man starting out in life. His first lesson. For instance, we work today. And I had a 15-year-old granddaughter working with us today, hard work. And during a period of time, I was giving her some wisdom and understanding that hard work never hurt anybody. And because not only did she go to the end length of her ability to work, but she pressed on to do a little extra. And I paid her for that extra. I paid her for her pay, and then I gave her a bonus and said, this bonus is for your attitude and for your willingness to jump in there. When I asked you to do something, you jumped right on and did it. I asked you to do something else, you jumped right on and did it. And just about every job that she did was really above her means and her strength. But she did them anyway. And so that's how we're going to learn too, if we do it, if we'll do it. So let's look at the book of Proverbs by outline. Chapter 1 through 9 is the preface by the way of exhortation to study the practice of wisdom. And the rules, there's rules for wisdom. All wisdom has rules. All wisdom is an act of caution. Be careful when you're using wisdom for both the sender and the receiver. Make sure that the wisdom is correct wisdom from the sender, and make sure if you're the receiver that you receive it correctly. In literature, the school of wisdom and other schools for fools. There's a school for wisdom, you'll find it in the Bible. And there are other schools, that's the college books of today, not knocking just any particular college, but I've picked up college books. I have some right here that I've picked up in the Goodwill or whatever, and for my own personal look at, so I could look at them and see what's being said. And I can't get wisdom out of them. Some of it's pretty nonsensical. I can't make any ends meet. Well, if I said something to a professor in a college about it, he'd say, well, that's the second book. You need to know what the first book said first. Well, if I knew what the first book said, I knew what the second book said, I'd have to know both of them to know what the third book is going to say. The question is what the first, second, and third book said. Can I go out here in the normal world and have a conversation with what those three books taught me and the other person understand what I'm saying? Absolutely not. That's exactly what the professor said. If you don't know what the first book said, you can't understand what the second book said. And if you don't know what the first book 1 and 2 said, you surely aren't going to understand what the third book said. Well, if I'm talking to somebody, maybe even on the same education level I'm on, but used a different set of three books, and he's in a whole different world, in a different language, and he won't understand anything I'm saying to him. And I graduated from college with a degree. What good is that? We need to be careful. We can graduate from a Bible college with a Bible degree and talk with anybody in the world about the same book. One book for the whole world, and that's it. And that's all is needed. So the preface of exhortation and the practice of wisdom and the rules and the caution against those things that the world would teach rather than of the Bible. Chapters 10 through 24, the first volume of Solomon's Proverbs. Now, if you want to break it down, you can break his books down into volumes, and you could write with two covers this 1 through 9. You could write with two covers from chapter 10 to verse 24 to chapter 24. You could put those between two covers. Then 25 to 59 would be the second volume of Solomon's Proverbs. And then let's look and notice the Agag's prophecy in chapter 30, Lemuel's prophecy in chapter 31. Now what I want to say about this is that Solomon degressed. He didn't increase, he degressed. Just think. In my studies in the book of Proverbs, as near as I can figure, over 6,000 people, every single time Solomon ate a meal, near as I can calculate from what I've studied in Proverbs, I would say over 6,000 people ate out of Solomon's food treasury. Every meal, 3 meals a day. That's 3 sixes is 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18. 18,000 people eating every time he ate. 3 meals a day. He fed 18,000 people. That's off his own table. That's out of his own food treasury. And can you imagine that? So he keepeth the path of judgment and preserveth the way of his saints. The key word in Proverbs, of course, is wisdom. It will protect her students. Wisdom is generally referred to as she, as a female gender, and a beautiful one, and a proper one, and a good one. And talks about the proper woman too. And then Proverbs 2:8 said, He keepeth the path of judgment and preserveth the way of his saints. And God does that. Wisdom will direct her students. Chapter 3, 5, and 6. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. Lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways, acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Wow. He's going to direct the paths of the man that will follow him. Wisdom is perfect, and her students, 4 and 18. But the path of the just is as a shining light that shineth more and more in the perfect day. Wow. We're headed for that perfect day, my friend. There's going to be a perfect day, the day Jesus comes back. And the chief purpose of the book is to give us moral instruction, especially to young people. The key verse is in Proverbs 1 and 4, to give stability to the simple, to the young man knowledge and discretion. The very thing today we're not teaching our young people, discretion. They just flop their bodies any which way, go any which way, and do whatever they want to do, and it's not good. The key thought of the book is the fear of the Lord, which occurs 14 times. Subjects that are especially discussed are wisdom, the call of it, the source of it, the preciousness of it, the principal things of it, the rich treasure of it, and the feast of it. All of those things can be used. 6 things right there that are ultimate ends to something. And then we have dealt with, that deals with anger. You can take the Proverbs if you have an angry child or somebody that's angry and you want to help them. It deals with benevolence. That's the giving and being to your neighbor and whatever. It deals with the correction of children. And if we would get back into Proverbs and correct our children, they wouldn't be in the courthouse when they're 10, 12 years old, being taken away from their killing others, doing everything they're doing, is because we got away from the biblical correction for children. Enticers. Today they're enticers. There are grown men that entice little children for evil reasons and kill them. We have a world full of that. We are headed toward the day of Sodom and Gomorrah again in the United States of America. Wow. Whew. There are those that do fear God, and those that fear God keep their way right. There are fools in this world. They just go any which way, do anything, and have no fear of anything, end up in prison, die in prison. They were raised a fool, they walk like a fool, and they die like a fool. And then there are friendships. There are lifetime friendships. There are passing friendships. There are good friendships. There are bad friendships. You have to be careful who you befriend and who you follow with, that you don't hurt your testimony. Indulgence. There are indulgence. It tells you in Proverbs how to indulge, how not to indulge, what to do. And divine knowledge. There is divine knowledge in the Proverbs. Talks about oppression. Those which are oppressed, and why? Talks about pride and how pride is not a good thing. It talks about prudence, which is one of the things, if you're a Christian, you need to be prudent. Our pastor says if he's due somewhere at 12 o'clock, at 20 minutes to 12, he's going to be sitting there. You say he's 20 minutes early. That's right, and he's going to be that way when he dies. He's going to be on time, on time. He's going to be there before she is. If that man that wants to meet with him wants to come 15 minutes early, Donald will already be there. My preacher will already be there waiting. And it talks about scorners, talks about strife, talks about temperance, and one of the greatest things in the book of Proverbs is the tongue, the little member that can't be tamed. The Bible said if a man could bridle his tongue, he could bridle his whole body. So if he can't bridle his tongue, talks about unjust gain. That's taking more than you dealt for, more than you were supposed to. Serenity-ship. That's surrendering to God, and we need to do that. And it talks about wealth, how wealth can make a man wise or can make a man stupid, foolish. If he wants to pile his wealth up, thinking that he's piling it up for what? For what reason is he piling it up? For what reason? A man can't give a reason that's a logical, good reason. If he says, well, I'm piling up for the hard day, the bad day, the money ain't going to be worth anything. When the money goes bad, I don't care if you got $2 million piled up. If it goes bad, you ain't going to get it. And I got another news for you. I heard about a guy that had $200,000 in the bank. And he went to get it, and the bank went south. It folded. And when it folded, he got like 10%. I forgot how much he got. He got like 200,000 out of 2 million or something. But anyway, or 20,000 out of 200,000. But anyway, it wasn't a good figure from what he had. And that's the way it's all going to end up. If you trust in the world's going to steal your money. You're going to break in. Every single day that passes right now, those guys out there punching them keys, punching them numbers, are going to hit your number one day just like hitting the lottery. And they're going to win that 200 million if you got it. They're going to get it. So let's get back in the book. It talks about wealth, talks about evil women, and talks about good women. It talks about youth, about finances, about adultery, about marriage. And I'll tell you what, if you would take what Proverbs says about marriage, there'd be no divorces. Now, Webster's dictionary defines wisdom as this: the right use or the exercise of knowledge. Correct? No, the right use of it and exercising it. The choice of labelable ends, that you can label the end of what you're talking about. You can say something about it. And the best means of accomplishing them. This is wisdom in action and in effect, in practice. Wisdom is to be considered as a faculty of the mind. It is the faculty of discerning or judging what must and just, proper, useful, and of the considered acquirement. That's what knowledge needs to be of, and that's what you need to do with it. It is the knowledge and the use of what is best. Most just, most proper, most convictive, most prosperity, most happiness. The wisdom is the first sense of practical wisdom. There is different kinds of wisdom, but practical wisdom is a very important wisdom in the first sense. And it is nearly synonymous with discernation. To be able to discern an answer when you're talking to a man. If a man asks you a question, it's not wrong to hesitate, to think about it. When you give him an answer, give him a wise answer. Give him a logical answer. Give him an honest answer. Give him one that will work if it's involving you or a business or a job or something. If you do not know, do not give the man a wrong answer, an unwise answer. If you do not know the answer, the very best thing to say when you do not know is, I do not know. In all honesty. Wow. You gave him a better answer than to give him a summation of something that you can't dig up a good answer for, so you use a something in between. Best thing to say is, I do not know. Now, wisdom in the first sense, it's got to be practical wisdom. So, let's look at the respect of the exercise of God's giving of wisdom. God's giving of wisdom shows you something that the world wisdom does not show you. It shows you the evils of some things. Some things look like they're very wise, but they are very evil. And so we need to know, even though it is a wise-looking thing, is it right, is it godly, or is it evil? And because if we're attempting to do good, you can't do evil to do good. It's not right to rob from Peter to pay Paul. I've had a friend that's done that for years, and he got himself in a real web right now from doing that. You can't do that. Wisdom is gained by experience and should be an instrumental value. I know so many people that have had the experience from using a lack of proper wisdom and gone through life with a terrible hard life, and are still in that terrible hard life because they haven't learned yet that if you keep doing the same thing, you keep getting the same results. I've got a very wise son that told me one time, he said, Dad, you keep doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same result. Hey, Dad, you want to get out of that hole you're in? I said, yeah, son, I'd like to. Well, he said, quit digging. Quit digging and start filling it in. And you'll get out of it one day. You'll walk across the top of it. It is hoped that our rules will act with dignity and wisdom. Whew. Do you think that's happening from the White House? That they would yield everything to reason. You think that's happening today? And refuse everything that is force. You think that's happening today? Oh, in scriptures, human learning. Learning gained by the study of books. I'm believing the word is erudition. And it's a word way above me, but it's gaining the study of books. Knowledge of art and science. Moses was learned in all the wisdom of Egypt. Acts 7. He was too, by the way. The Egyptian princess there had come down there and got him out of that basket when he was a baby and raised him as an Egyptian. And he knew all the Egyptian way, as well as when he got older, God taught him the Hebrew way while he was over there in the backside of the desert trying to win him a wife. Had to work 14 years to get the one he wanted, and ended up with two, and to get the one he wanted. In Scripture, human learning. That's what human learning is. Psalm 37. The wisdom of this world, the mere human, and there's this word again, erudition, the study of books, is carnal policy of men. This craft and artifice in the promoting there is temporal interests, called also fleshly wisdom. 1 and 2 Corinthians tells us about that. The wisdom of words and the artificial or affected eloquence are learned displayed in teaching 1 and 2 Corinthians. If you're teaching 1 and 2 Corinthians, you need to teach it correctly, no matter how elegant you are, or whatever. And by the way, I would rather somebody told me if I had a booger hanging out of my nose, say, Pete, you know you got a little booger hanging out of your nose? And I'd say, oh, I missed breakfast this morning. All right, I got it. But I would rather, if I'm talking with somebody, which I'm an older man, and older men do this, we have failed when we put our pants on in the morning to zip our fly up. I would prefer the first person I met that noticed that my fly wasn't zipped said to me, hey Pete, your fly's unzipped. So simple to do. If I see somebody in that position, I tell them. But I've gone a half a day before, talked with a dozen people, and none of them told me. And it's embarrassing to get up and preach and have your fly be open or teach. All right. And the scripture, the human learning. All right, let's get down to the wisdom part. Number 1, the fear of God is its root. 1 and 7, 9 and 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. Wow. Fools despise wisdom and instruction. Proverbs 9 and 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding. Wow. I've been saved since 73, and I'm just coming to that place, I believe, to where I'm realizing that the understanding, only understanding I need, is this spiritual understanding. It will gain one many honors. It said, for they shall be an ornament of grace under thy head and chains about thy neck. Let me put it this way. If you're living for God and living like you should, there should be people come to you on a daily basis and ask you spiritual questions and say, what about this or what about that? Or drive up in your yard and say, somebody told me you could give me an answer to this. A spiritual thing. It will keep one from immortality, to deliver thee from the strange woman, even from the stranger which flattereth with her words. Wow. This day and age, the flattering woman is taking men down the threshold by the thousands on a daily basis. Well, what about the man that's out doing that to the women? Well, he's doing the same thing. Causing this generation in this world today to lose respect for the human way of life, the proper human way of life. Proverbs 3:6, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Proverbs 3 and 8, it shall be health to thy navel and marrow to thy bones. It will give one renewal, health, and vitality. 3 and 8. Listen, I'm 74. I did a day's work today that almost, I don't know any 30-year-olds that I know right now that work around me that would do the day's work I did today. Every muscle in my body's hurting, yes. I overstrained every muscle I got. My legs, my arms, I can't hardly sit down. I got cramps. And why? Because I gave all I had. I gave all I had. And I had, that's what we need to do. We'll give one renewal of health. It will, as one wisely ties, fill one's barn with wheat and barley and overflow the wine vats with the finest vineyards. Do you know that you could work until you kill yourself, and if you're not tithing, giving 10% to God, all your money is in a curse, under a curse, and not a blessing? You must give 10 cents out of a dollar. If you're not a tither, you need to take every dollar that you make from today on, if you're watching this program, and take 10 pennies out of it. 10 pennies, that's all of a dollar. You say, but I make $500. Woo-wee. And 10%? Yes, 10%. $110. And listen, $45. We try to give, if we make 500, we try to give 100. And so you need to do that. God will bless you as wisely as tithing will fill one barns. Proverbs 3, 9, and 10. Honor the Lord with thy substance, and with the first fruits of all thine increase. Number 10, verse 10. So shall thy barns be filled with plenty, and thy presses shall burst out with new wine. Hey, have you ever come out of the grocery store and there's a guy standing there, and you say to him, sir, you got a situation to where you need some food or something? And he says, yes. You say, well, come here a minute. You open your bag up and get a banana, a couple bananas out, an orange or something, and a drink or two, and give it to him. That's what you're supposed to do. That's the first fruits of your groceries. You gave the first fruit of your money. Now you got your groceries. You give out the first fruits of your groceries. Do you look for such things? Do you help people? Do you skin flint tip a waitress and say you're a Christian on Sunday? I think that the biggest failure in the church today is people who eat in restaurants on Sunday who call themselves Christians, put food in their pocketbooks, take the salt and pepper off the table, fold the napkins up by the dozen, put them in their pocketbooks, put stuff away that doesn't belong to them, talk mean about everybody and is ugly, is mean to the waitress, and then says, well, I don't think she was very good, I'm going to just leave her 40 cents. You better just keep your 40 cents and just walk away, because she ain't going to think one more bit good out of you than that 40 cents. If you think you'd ever get that waitress in your church, you better think again. If you think you got God in your corner, you better think again. You can't treat people like you treat that waitress and say that you're a Christian. You know what a Christian is? One that's Christ-like. You know what a Christian is? Look at the Good Samaritan. He cleaned the man's wounds, paid for it, took him to the motel, paid for it, and said, if there's any more bill, I'll pick it up when I come back. Have you had that happen? Have you had that case come up yet and you've done it? You need to do that. Honor the Lord with thy substance and thy first fruit. It is better than silver and gold, and more precious than rubies, that wisdom is. Proverbs 3:14. For merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver, and the gain of gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, better than the things that man desires. There's nothing to compare with it. So my fruit is better than gold, yea, better than fine gold, and better than the revenue of silver. 8. Proverbs 3:16. Length of days in her right hand, and her left hand riches and honor. Her ways are the ways of pleasantness, and all her paths of peace. For by me the days shall be multiplied, and the years of thy life shall be increased. I should have been dead at the age of 31, but God saved me when I was 30. By 31, I would have been dead. All my friends were. They used to drink with, whatever. And I would have been dead too. So God pulled me out of there and multiplied my days and my years and increase. I'm sitting in a house. Every book that's behind me is paid for. Every board that is in this house is paid for. Every window, everything here is paid for. I'm a very poor working man with very shallow means. But God blessed me in the ability to go out and skulk up the lumber and put this thing together. And gave me the ability to do that and have some friends help me, have some family help me, and get it done. And so, if my wife and I owed anything with a couple little pennies we get from the United States government in our retirement, won't even cover our monthly need. We worked all our life, but we ain't got much to show for it as far as the government's concerned. But that's all right. God intervenes and makes it so we can live comfortably because we don't owe for the stuff that we have. God's method in creation, 3:19 and 20. The Lord by wisdom hath founded the earth. By understanding he established the heavens. By his knowledge the depths are broken up, and the clouds drop down dew. Water comes up out of the ground for you and I to drink. God doesn't drink water. He doesn't need water. God doesn't need air. God doesn't need anything. He made all this for you and I. He made the dew to water the ground. The principal things, wisdom is principal thing. Therefore get wisdom, and with all getting understanding. 7 and 4. Say unto wisdom, thou art my sister, and call understanding thy kinsman. And you'll have the favor of God. Let's look at Proverbs 8:35. Wisdom is personified as the great teacher, as dwelling with God from all eternity, assisting at the creation of the world, the original of all authority on earth. It can be gathered from various indications in our book that wisdom is regarded a threefold respect. Man, do I love threefold teaching. I absolutely love threefold teaching. An essential attribute of the Almighty God, as revealed in the creation, as communicated to men by his holy word. Wow. Just see those three things. The essential attribute of God. He always was, always will be. Everything that is exists in God and from God that man uses. It is revealed in creation and as a communication to man. It is the mind or the thought of God. It is that by which he created the world. It is that which regulates and informs the moral being of man. God regulates and informs us. And he does it with his word. 8:23 and 31 adapts itself to the idea that Jesus our Lord, though we cannot suppose that Solomon had clear notion of the divine personality of wisdom, Yet we may believe that it was not aligned from the mind of the Holy Spirit that the Christian church should see in these the solemnic utterances and the prophecies and the nature and the operation of the Son of God made man, of him whom John calls the Word. It is the wisdom as communicated to man that the book of Proverbs chiefly treats. In deciding the only way of obtaining and securing possession of her, and the inclinable blessedness that attends to the acquisition and usance. Listen, I got a 7th grade education. When I first started preaching, guys up at the jail I started preaching, they'd say, "Hey man, if you can't read any better than that, you missed your calling, you can't be a preacher." Well, I said, "I'm going to be a preacher, and can you read good?" And they'd say, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, you read it and I'll preach it." God gave me the ability to understand the Bible, but as far as reading these kind of words, incalculable, questionings, usurance, those words, position, securing, obtaining, those words are, in a first sense of the word, they're not Bible words, and I've been in the Bible now for 40 years, and you stick that Bible in front of me and I can pronounce about every word in it. So, but secular words are hard for me to get. But anyway, in Proverbs 1:20-23, wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief places and the concourse, in the openings of the gates, in the city, uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will you love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and the fools hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit upon you. I will make known my words unto you. Do I want that in my life? Yes, I do. And if you want it in your life, get in the book of Proverbs. You can get it. The word wisdom is here, the verse in plural. As there is infinite wisdom in God, so there is manifold wisdom of God. To the intent that now unto the principalities and the powers in heavenly places might be known by the church, and the manifold wisdom of God can be known. Human understanding and the wisdom of light, nature, and all of those, and the power faculties of the different things of the world and the government and the magistrates and all those things that are public things are not necessarily the wisdom that you need. The wisdom you need is found in the revelation of God and Christ and God Himself and the wisdom of God, and not necessarily the wisdom of the world. Men. Some have wisdom, need more. The Son of Man, men with material wisdom. And then the simple man is those not perverted, but worldly yet. And then there's the foolish man. That's the intellectual, heavy in scriptural, untaught. Scripturally untaught, but heavy in intelligence. That's what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about those college books. Doth not wisdom cry in understanding for her voice? She standeth in the top of the high places by the way, in the place of the paths. She crieth at the gates, at the entrance of the city, and cometh to the doors. Unto you, O man, I call, and my voice is the Son of Men. O ye simple, understand wisdom, and you fools, be ye of understanding heart. Hear, for I will speak excellent things, and the opening of my lips shall be right things. For my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the words of my mouth are righteousness. There is nothing froward or perverse in them. They are all plain to him that understandeth, and right to them that findeth knowledge. Receive my instruction, and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold. For wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things to be desired. That's 12. There are 36 things in the book of Proverbs here that are directly united for you and I. Wisdom dwelleth with prudence, and find out knowledge with witty invitations. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, arrogancy, and the evil way, and the froward mouth do I hate. Counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding. I have strength. By me kings reign, and princes decree justice. By me, this is wisdom we're talking about, rule, and nobles, even all the judges of the earth. I love them that love me, and those that seek me early shall find me. Riches and honor are with me, yea, durable riches and righteousness. This is the wisdom that's eternal. My fruit is better than gold, yea, better than fine gold. My revenue better than choice silvers. I lead in the way of righteousness, and in the midst of the paths of judgment, that I may cause those that love me to inherit substance. I like that. And I will fill their treasuries. Wow. The Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his work. That's in chapter 8. I was set up before everlasting. This is in chapter 8. From the beginning or ever the earth was. This is Jesus Christ speaking here. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no fountains, I was with water. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. While as yet he had made the earth, had not made the earth, nor the field, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth. When he established the clouds above. When he strengthened the fountains of the deep. When he gave the sea his decree, that the waters should not pass his commandment. When he appointed the foundations of the earth. Hey, then was I by him, as one brought up with him. I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him. Rejoice in the habited part of his earth, and my delight with the sons of men. Now therefore hearken unto me, O ye children, for blessed are they that keep my ways. Hear instruction and be wise, and refuse it not. Blessed is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the post of my doors. For whosoever findeth me findeth life, and shall obtain favor of the Lord. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death. Wow. The summary of that book, of that part of the book of Proverbs that we've been over. Now we're going to look at wisdom continued, and we're going to jump back and forth. We're going all the way back to Proverbs 2:6 for a minute. The Lord is the one that gives wisdom. Out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. Wisdom comes from God, and he gives it liberally. James 1:5 says, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God that giveth liberally, and upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. If you'll ask for it, he'll give it to you. The preciousness of it. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom, and the man that getteth understanding. For the merchandise of it is better than the merchandise of silver and gold. You say, Brother Peter, you said all of these before. Listen, you need to hear them 5, 6, 7 times, 10 times, so that when you come up on the case or on it in your regular life, you'll say, oh, that's one of the Proverbs. Oh, that's an answer to the proverb, that the merchandise is better than silver and gold. Yes, it is. Do you know, I would rather have peace of mind, can sleep, and have peace of mind, than I would to have all the gold and silver in the world and don't have any peace of mind. Worrying about somebody stealing it, worrying about somebody's got more money than I got, worrying about those things that you don't have to worry about. Her ways are the ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to them that lay hold upon her, and happiness even one that retaineth her. The Lord by wisdom hath founded the earth, by understanding hath established the heavens. By his knowledge the depths are broken up, and the clouds drop down dew. We studied all of that in our lesson in the earlier part of this thing. Proverbs 4 and 5. Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of thy mouth. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. And with all the getting, get understanding. Exalt her, and she will promote thee. She shall bring thee honor. When thou dost embrace her, she shall give to thine head an ornament of grace, a crown of glory, shall deliver to them that hear, O my son, and receive my sayings, and the years of thy life shall be many. I have taught thee in the way of wisdom. I have led thee in the right paths. When thou goest, thy steps shall not be straitened, and when thou runnest, thou shalt not stumble. Take fast hold on instruction. Let her not go. Keep her, for she is thy life. Wow. The definition and principle of the chief. That's the most important or the most considerable one. The one to consider the most. And that's the principle. Wisdom should be acquired whatever the cost. She is the pearl of great price. There is no price higher to pay than the not having wisdom. You have become a fool. Once you have obtained wisdom, do not let her go. The richest treasures are found in the wisdom that God gives. Wisdom hath builded her house, hewn down the pillars, 7 pillars. She hath killed her beast. She hath mingled her wine. She has also furnished her table. She has sent forth her maidens. She crieth upon the highest places of the city. Whosoever is simple, let him turn in hither. As for him that wanteth understanding, and saith to him that cometh, eat of my bread, drink of the wine that I have, which I have mingled. Forsake the foolish, and live, and go the way of understanding. The banquet house of God is the banquet house of wisdom. If you and I want to get in that banquet house, we want to have provision, be rich and abundant. We want to have invitation to the many maidens that go forth and cry. If we want to have the guest of the simple, him that lacketh understanding, divine truth and nourishing, we need to do the answer to those things, those that we find out there. The tongue of the just is like choice silver. Wow. I wish that I could consider myself as just as I do one of my sons. I would know that I was in the right place. Our time's come and gone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.